Good evening, everyone.
I finally went and looked at the streetscape stuff and voted.
Good, I'm glad. Some good choices, right?
Mhm.
I thought they did a good job putting that together.
Yeah. I met, I walked with a friend around downtown who knew that we had a gnome store.
You didn't know that?
I don't know why, because I've been by there all the time. I just never, I think, looked at what the name of it was.
Okay.
Like, because I've said, oh, that's a nice shawl in the window or something, and just never.
The gnome.
And my friend, the same thing. She's like, I didn't realize. And then I asked her if she saw the streetscape material, and she said no, so I took her over to it.
Good.
So hopefully she said she was going to go back and vote, but we'll see.
Good. Okay. I was just getting a bunch of messages, so I thought maybe people are having a hard time getting on. Hope that's not the case this evening.
Say I did feel bad last time because I know I was blowing up Katie's phone because I was panicking. I was like, I can't get on.
Mohammed's on, so the links are working.
Okay. I'm not able to see. Where's Stacy?
She's not on right now.
She started the meeting.
But she's not in panelists or attendees.
Okay. I think she hopped off without making me the host, so that would be.
Oops.
Yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Did everybody have a nice New Year?
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, it was pretty boring, but I made it.
Yeah.
Can we go to 2022?
Yeah. Let's
Go
fast
ahead and
forward.
fast forward. It was the quietest New Year's I've ever had. so-
It's my anniversary.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so normally we go out for a real, we go out for a really nice dinner, right? All of that. So I was pleasantly surprised when this big, beautiful bouquet of flowers showed up at my house because that never happens.
Aw.
Oh,
But he was like, I felt like we needed to do something. Like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm really tired. I think I was in bed by like 10 o'clock.
oh wow.
We
'Cause I was bored.
celebrated, yeah, with the 5-year-old on London time, YouTube
Yeah.
on London. So
I mean, I said Happy New Year to my friends over in Europe, right? Like Australia. Like I was wishing everybody a Happy New Year throughout the day. So I celebrated just in a weird way.
This is the first time in years I haven't had to work on New Year's Eve. That was really nice.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Jamie, you were muted.
Yeah, I figured that out. I was gonna say, usually they're overrated anyway.
Yeah. Except for when you get married and you have because our reception went until 2 a.m. the next day. So our reception didn't start till 8 o'clock at night. All of our friends are always like, can you just like throw a reception every couple of years? Because that was the best New Year's we've ever had.
Right.
Geez,
That's fun.
were you at the tiki bar in your backyard on New Year's?
Not on New Year's. We were there December 19th. Our next door neighbor did a socially distanced Santa visit in his backyard. And the weather, I mean, in December held out that we could pull it off. And it was families only and masking up, and everybody, got to see, the little kids got to see Santa and that kind of thing. So it was really neat. My kids are older, so they were more helping out, but we had a good time.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Year.
All right. Looks like slowly but surely everybody's being able to pop on. So
So you say we have a quorum?
well, let's see. We've got Tracy, Jamie, Lloyd, John, Laura, Mohammed. Yes, we have a quorum.
And I think David wasn't going to be here.
He's not.
Okay.
Still looking for.
We have 3
Barbara.
minutes.
There's Barbara.
Oh, there's Angela.
The garage is looking good, right?
Oh, it's getting there.
When do we think do we have is it this summer we'll be able to use it?
Yeah, I think the delivery date, Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, is May.
Yeah, I think the delivery date is May 1st. But Candace Small is the design phase manager for it, so she may be better able to.
I was going to turn it over to Ray Beckman, who's managing the construction. Ray, do you have a date?
May 1st is correct. That's right.
And we need all of COVID to be done with as well, so we can get people back in the downtown and we can celebrate this being open. So
If you can pull that off, I'd be really impressed.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, exactly, right? But
I got to tell you, it's been fascinating to watch. I go to Einstein a lot in the morning, and to watch those trucks pull in, and then I go check out Riva and all that, and to watch those trucks pull in, and they just lift those spandrels off, and just it's like Tinker Toys in a big way.
Yeah, that's Ray's magic.
Yeah, not just mine. I mean, it is fun though, watching those things back in, and it takes about 10, 15 minutes, and then they're right out the door, and the next one comes back. So, yeah.
It really doesn't look that imposing from behind the Civic Center either.
What'd you say, Katie?
It somehow looks smaller than I thought it would actually when you're on Dwayne.
How about from Hillside?
It actually, I just walked around that block and it doesn't seem that overpowering even when you're on Hillside. Because you've got the apartment buildings that are pretty tall, even near the houses, because from the street, at least from the sidewalk, it didn't seem as much because I was with somebody who she was curious. So I said, well, let's walk around and see. And she's like, oh, I expected it to seem a lot more. And then I talked to her a little bit about, what we were talking about, what might happen in the connection where Schonkweiler used to be. So it was interesting.
All right, I think we A, have a quorum, B, have our, we do have all the developers, right, for this portion. And Barb, is that you on the phone? I think that's her.
I'm here.
Okay, I think we can call to order the Village of Glen Ellen Special Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, January 7th, 2021. I am my name is Mary Locke, and I'm the chair of this commission. And I'm going to read some prepared remarks because we're doing this via Zoom and not live at the Civic Center. So it will be conducted by video conference through Zoom without a physically present quorum of the Plan Commission because of a disaster declaration related to COVID-19 and public health concerns affecting the Village of Glen Ellen. An in-person meeting at the Civic Center is not practical or prudent because of the disaster, and therefore the chairperson, commissioners, village manager, village attorney, and members of the public and members of the staff will not be physically present at the Civic Center. The commissioners and staff participating in tonight's meeting are in different locations in accordance with social distancing guidelines. It is important that the public hearing scheduled for tonight be heard to continue critical village business, which will enable ongoing construction, development, protection of property values, and the promotion of the village's economic vitality. At this point, I would like to describe the remote proceedings of the Plan Commission for those of you who are not familiar with the process. We have 2 items on tonight's agenda. We will begin with a continued public hearing for the Village Pedway. Staff provided a presentation on this agenda item on December 17th, 2020 at that Plan Commission meeting. A recording of that meeting is available on the Village's website for anyone that wishes to view it. Staff will be providing a brief update, and then we will take public comment on this item. Following the reading of any written comments, members of the audience who wish to speak will be asked to raise their hand through the Zoom platform hand-raising feature. Audience members will then be called on, unmuted, and given 3 minutes to comment. After you speak, you will be muted again. Everyone who will be presenting information or asking questions to this commission during a public hearing will be required to do so under oath, and all comments will be recorded so that written minutes can be prepared for this meeting. After public comment, the Plan Commission will begin their deliberations and make a recommendation to the Village Board on this agenda item. Then we will move to the second agenda item for tonight. Another continued public hearing for the presentation of the second half of the draft comprehensive plan. The first half of the plan was presented at the December 10th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting, and the recording of that meeting is also available on the Village's website. Staff will begin with a brief introduction presentation. The floor will be then turned over to the Village's consultant, Hausil Lavine Associates, to present the second half of the draft comprehensive plan. The Plan Commission will have the opportunity to ask questions throughout the presentation. At the conclusion of the presentation, we will take public comments on this agenda item. Just a reminder that all speakers are asked to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. If inappropriate language or comments are expressed during this meeting, we will mute the speaker and end their participation. After the public comment portion of the meeting, or this section, no further comment from the public will be permitted. The Plan Commission will discuss the material that has been presented and provide formal feedback to Halcyon Levine Associates. Since this is the second meeting in a series of 3 public hearings for the draft comprehensive plan, a recommendation to the village board will not be made at this meeting and will actually continue it to the 3rd meeting. With us tonight, for the benefit of those in the audience, we have our trustee liaison, Bill Enright, Community Development Director Stacy Springer, who is administering this meeting on Zoom, Planning Manager Kelly Purvis, Planner Katie Ashbaugh, Associate Planner Cole Jackson, and our consultants from Halcyon Levine Associates, John Halcyon and Brandon Nolan, and Barbara Dutton, Recording Secretary. At this point, Barbara, would you please call the roll of the Plan Commission?
Certainly. Chairman Locke,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Here, here.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Fennella,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Hemming Litwin,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Mulheron,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Rodman, Plan Commissioner Said,
Here.
Plan Commissioner Von Druska,
Here.
Chairperson Locke, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara. What I need now is a motion to allow the remote participation by the Plan Commission.
So moved.
And I need a second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Hemming Litwin, and a second by Mr. Von Druska. Barbara, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Chairperson Locke,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Hemming Litwin,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Von Druska,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Fennella,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulheron,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Said.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, let's see, I would like to ask if there's anybody who is in attendance that wants to speak to the Plan Commission on something, on an item that is not on tonight's agenda. If you are here in attendance and would like to address the Plan Commission for a few minutes, please raise your Zoom hand. I don't see any hands going up, so I'm assuming that everybody who is here is here for one of the agenda items. The next agenda item is approval of draft minutes from the December 10th, 2020 regular Plan Commission meeting. Hang on one second, let me go get those. Is there any discussion on those minutes? I may have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
All right. Okay, I heard it. Commissioner Hemming Litwin made the motion and Commissioner Said seconded the motion. Barbara, may we have a roll call vote for approval?
Chairperson Locke,
Here, I'm sorry, yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Oh, yes.
Plan Commissioner Fennella,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Hemming Litwin,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulheron,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Von Druska.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Our next agenda item is approval of the draft minutes from the December 17th, 2020 Special Plan Commission meeting. Are there any discussion on those minutes? All right, I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hemming Litwin and a second by Commissioner Von Druska. Barbara, could you call the roll on that one too, please?
Chairperson Locke,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Henning Litwin,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Vondruska,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Fennella,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulheren.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
You did not call my name.
Oh, Plan Commissioner Said, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Definitely carries. All right, thank you very much. The agenda calls for the next item is called old business, but really is a continuation of the public hearings. We'll start with the continuation from, to consider an amendment to the Glen Ellen Civic Center campus planned unit development with deviations and exterior appearance approval to allow changes associated with the construction of the Civic Center pedway. I'll make mention, since I don't see it here, the reason we continued it is we were concerned that attendees that might have wanted to participate in our December 17th meeting may not have been able to because they may have had some Zoom problems, and we wanted to ensure that they had an opportunity to comment. We will give a brief update and then proceed from there. And I think we have to, we don't have to re-swear in anybody, is that correct?
That is correct. The public hearing is still open, so everybody who was previously sworn in is still sworn.
Okay, and so we were going to get an update, is that correct?
That's correct. Director Springer is going to provide a quick update on where we're at with the easements, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. You're muted, Ms. Springer. If we only knew somebody who could administer that Zoom mute
Exactly.
or unmute.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman Locke. So there was some discussion at the last meeting regarding the status of the easement agreements. Nothing much has changed, as you mentioned. Other than that, the public hearing was extended in order to allow anybody who wanted to comment from the public on this project to do so. Related to the easement agreements, we have had verbal discussions with both property owners. So this is related to the property that Fire and Wine is located on and the vacant Katie's. That is all under ownership by one entity. And then for the property that used to be Sukup's and is now Nobel House in Sushi-Ukai, that is all under a single ownership by another entity. And so we have had ongoing discussions with those parties over the last couple of weeks. And it appears, based on the verbal conversations, that we have agreement on the major terms under which those agreements will be signed. We have received some, verbal acceptance of kind of the general terms. We are finishing up the details in the plats related to getting those easement agreements finalized and signed. And that is something that really is under the village board's purview. And it would be appropriate, though, if the Plan Commission would like to impose a condition on the approval of this item that states that certainly no construction related to this project can begin until we have both of those agreements signed, executed, and recorded prior to the issuance of the building permit.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any, from the Plan Commission, have any questions for staff, Stacy, at this point?
I do, Stacy. Ms. Springer. Formal. We are also being asked to provide the village with I can't remember my words tonight. Granting the village the ability to not match the enclosure of the garbage to the principal structure, correct?
Correct.
And that is not a condition the Plan Commission usually has allowed. At least under my tenure, we've never agreed to that. Is that correct?
Not as far as I recall, has the Plan Commission given a variation from that requirement. I think you've been pretty consistent in expecting that of the businesses that come forward for approval. I don't recall immediately any variations that have been granted or deviations to a PUD for that.
Angela, in my tenure, I do not remember that happening at all. And I think out of everybody here, I'm the longest tenure here right
Thanks.
now.
Okay.
So there was a lot of discussion when the new clubhouse went in and stuff was done at the Village Links regarding it. That was when we had the biggest discussion on possibly doing it, and we did not allow it.
So we made the Village Links adhere to the code.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't want to put the village, I mean, honestly, I don't want my taxes to go up because we have to match our garbage to our building principal structure. At the same time, I'd like to kick, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I would like to see us have the village try to adhere to the code on this one. It's our code, and if we don't grant the approval to other entities or petitioners, I think we should adhere to it ourselves. And so I'd be interested to hear what my other commissioners have to say about that one. Sorry, Mary, if I'm jumping ahead to discussion.
Oh, no, I don't have any problem with that, because we'll need to know at one point or the other.
And again, just something I think if we could, and Stacy, if we would say we would like to see the village adhere to the code, I'm assuming this would then get kicked up to the board for a board discussion?
And they would obviously have that discussion and make that decision. I can tell you that we had these discussions early on, at the staff level and with the contractor or the consultant, Mortensen. And they put together kind of an entire bid package for the entire project. And the board, trying to be, fiscally responsible with the village's taxpayer funds, gave us kind of a maximum price not to exceed. And one of the items that got cut to stay within budget, which was a pretty expensive differential. I don't know if Candace knows off the top of her head, she doesn't remember what it was, but we did look at a brick exterior for that structure, and it was just more affordable, and we wanted to use village, we needed to stay within a budget. So I don't know if that helps, or if I just went off on a tangent all by myself.
It's a logical explanation is what I heard. But Angela, I think that that's a good question for us to, your commissioners, fellow commissioners, to answer in their remarks when we go into deliberations. So but let's save it for then, because what I'd really like to do is, if there's any other questions related to what Stacy presented or any of the other pieces of this project, let's ask them now and get some answers and then allow for the public comment.
I did want to add one other item or get, I guess, question Commissioner Fenella. Are you speaking, there's a couple enclosures involved here. There's one that's proposed on the Katie's property, partially on the Katie's property and partially on the village's property. That would be the outside storage area behind the former Katie's space. There is an enclosure behind Sushi Kai, which will be for their grease container and HVAC units. And there's a kind of a consolidated joint garbage enclosure over on the Civic Center property, more closer to the entrance, the vehicle entrance to the Civic Center parking garage. All of that one is, I wasn't sure if you were referring to all of them or just one of them. So I just wanted that clarification. And the reason we went with the material we did behind Sushi Kai is because there's some issues related to the remaining width of that pathway between the enclosure and the Civic Center wall. I mean, a comfortable passageway for multiple people is 10 feet. We didn't want to go below 8 feet. When you get down to 6 feet, it's kind of uncomfortable for people to pass, and a width of that nature of 5 feet. And of course, a a brick wall or a CMU block wall or precast wall with brick facing on it, that takes up a lot more width than what is proposed behind Sushi Yokai, and that encroaches into the alley passageway. So there's actually 3 different materials proposed in those 3 different locations. And so I just wanted clarifications of which one or all 3 you were talking about.
Well, that explanation would, then I would say that I would be okay with the Sushi Yokai one not adhering to the code because there's a reasonable explanation for why we need the relief. What is the rationale behind the other 2? Is it simply budget?
Candace, can you confirm for me the one over at the Civic Center kind of outdoor little plaza area at the rear of the building, is that going to have a brick appearance to it?
The one that's in the Pedway, the phase 2 area that is around the utilities.
No, I'm talking the Civic Center parking garage
Where
garbage.
the trash, the garbage enclosure, yes.
Yeah.
The garbage enclosure will comply and it will match the exterior material of the building. So it will have the brick and the limestone look cap.
Okay.
So, yep, go ahead.
That one's compliant. There's the one we just talked about was the metal enclosure behind Sushi Yokai. So those 2 are kind of not an issue. The one on the Katie's property is proposed to be, and Candace, it's a synthetic material, right?
Yes, very similar to what a residential, kind of think of a Trex product that you may use for your deck, compared to, you know, like yep, there we go. That's the metal looking one.
Katie's, yeah. I mean, that's behind Sushi Yokai.
Sushi Yokai, and that is to allow airflow into the AFC units. And Stacy hit on it. If we had a brick wall, we would have to have it out farther away from the AC units to allow for proper airflow. And then around the Katie's area, it's a composite Trex wood look material that doesn't need maintenance.
Yeah, and then the purple area, if you can show that, Katie, that is some utility area, some utility boxes there that we wanted to screen. And Candace, what material is that?
That would be the Trex, very similar to the Katie, so they match. We were proposing that over, say, a brick wall, just due to not having to dig the foundations and any underground conflicts with all of the utilities that are running below.
Yeah, and that again is a width issue too, if we were to construct a masonry wall. So these are the 2 areas that around the blue and around the purple that we're talking about do not comply. And of course, I got some head shakes. I'm assuming everybody would concur with Commissioner Finella's opinion that in order to maintain the maximum pedway behind Sushi Yokai, that, you know, that's why we chose that design. It's actually like a bifold door. We didn't even want there to be like doors that, you know, open like this or open out, because we didn't want, when those doors were open, for there to be an obstruction to the pedway.
Thank you. That explanation makes a lot more sense, and I'm much more comfortable with granting the variation tonight. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for staff before we proceed with public comment? Okay. Were there any letters that were written in to on this topic that need to be read into the record?
I'm sorry, Chairperson Locke. I'm not sure that Katie heard you. Could you?
Katie, were there any letters that were read into the that were written and received that need to be read into the record on this topic?
No, there were not. I'm sorry. We have a new dog and she was barking at me.
Well, congratulations. That probably means you haven't slept for weeks, so we understand.
So we did not receive anything from the website, and I also was not emailed anything either.
Okay. And then at this point, if there's anybody that from the attendees that are participating that wanted to make comment on this topic, now's a good time to raise your hand.
Chairman Locke, we do have Adam Cruiser in the audience.
Okay,
Has raised his hand, so I am going to allow him to speak. Adam, you have been allowed to speak on my end. You just, yep, you needed to unmute, so you can go ahead, and we allow 3 minutes for public comment.
Thank you.
does he
Stacy.
need to be sworn in?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So Barb, could you swear him in?
Yes. Would you please state your name and address for the public record?
Adam Cruiser, 351 Marion, Glen Ellen.
Could you please spell your last name for me?
Kreuzer.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead, Mr. Cruiser.
Yeah, thank you. Some of you may know me. I was the chairperson of the Environmental Commission for many years and a member of that commission for more than 10 years. So thanks to everybody here for your service. I certainly appreciate what you're doing.
I'll say ditto.
Thank you.
Yeah.
After my retirement from the Environmental Commission, I decided to become a delegate for the International Dark Sky Association. So I'm speaking on their behalf tonight, also on behalf of the village. I'm very much concerned about your lighting plans for the pedestrian area. You're asking for a huge increase on the foot candles. From what I understand, you're also asking to use fixtures which are not dark sky compliant and not shielded, which would be inconsistent with what you're using now throughout the village. I would like you to rethink about your sconces. They should be shielded. There's no reason for them not to be shielded. You'll have as much light for security reasons with shielded fixtures as you will with non-shielded fixtures. I'd also like you to make sure that you consider the type of bulb that will ultimately be installed. That bulb should be dark sky compliant. It should not be more than 3,000 Kelvin will give you more than enough light. And with respect to the foot candles, you're increasing the brightness dramatically. I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. And I don't know if you've had engineers look at this or not, but you're going to end up having probably white light that's blinding to your patrons. I don't know if anybody's looked at this significantly. It probably could be very obnoxious ultimately. To the extent that you want to continue on the path that you're on, I would certainly suggest that you make sure that your lights are dimmable so that you can bring that brightness down. So that's more or less what I wanted to share with you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cruiser. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh.
Chairman Locke, I couldn't try to respond a little bit, but I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of answers, and maybe Katie has a little bit more, because I know we did hire a consultant to review the lighting. Bennis and Associates does that for us because they have experts on their team, and we worked closely with Mortensen and their team because with this being a public pathway that will be used at night for people, customers that are going from Main Street and other places to the parking garage, we need to balance the lighting to make sure we have, an environment where people feel safe. And so we need to have a minimum lighting standard. And related to the fixtures that are proposed on the wall, we had selected those because of their historic nature and trying to fit in historically. I don't know, Katie or Candace, if you have anything else that you can add to that discussion.
No, they were selected based on their historical appearance and what closely matched what we currently have in the village.
Okay. Go ahead, Katie.
It's my recollection as well that particularly like the in-ground light fixtures were selected during multiple village board meetings, that they wanted to kind of lead pedestrians down the pathway at night. Unless that's I'm out of turn speaking with that, but that seems to be my recollection and what they selected there.
I think we had some discussion, and it might have been at the, when we approved the final PUD for phase 1, there was some discussion about the light fixtures and how bright they would be. And Mr. Cruiser, I think, had suggested that they might be very bright, but the consultant that Mortensen had hired, or the engineer, had said, hey, go outside right now, look at the light that's on the Civic Center, you know, behind the building. That's the brightness we're talking about. And I think, you know, the staff went outside and looked at it, and it wasn't excessively bright. It seemed an appropriate level, at least to us.
Yeah.
I wanted to add just
Having walked that to and from Plan Commission meetings, it is not excessively bright. Go ahead, Kelly.
I wanted to just mention one other quick thing. So the foot candle measurements are supposed to be taken at the property lines, and kind of due to the unique nature of the pedway itself, it kind of extends across property lines. So you're measuring the foot candles right underneath a light, or, you know, for example, those sconces, that's right at the property line on the Sushi Yukai wall. So you're measuring right at the property line underneath the sconce, which is another reason why some of those numbers are a little bit on the higher side. Just as an apple.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anybody else from the attendee list that wanted to speak to the Plan Commission on this topic? All right, I don't see anybody else raising their hand. That would tell me that we could close the public hearing on this topic. May I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Hemming-Litwin and a second by Mr. Mulhern. Barbara, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Barbara, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, let's try this.
Yeah, we can hear you fine now. Yeah, yes.
All right. Sometimes I have to hit it more than once, I think. Okay, Chairperson, let's see. Plan Commissioner Hemming-Litwin.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulhern.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Fenella.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Said.
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Vondruska.
Yes.
And Chairperson Locke, did I ask you?
You sort of did as we were going through it, but the answer is yes. So we'll just start with that.
Okay. All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, so the public comment or public hearing portion is closed. And now we have an opportunity for the Plan Commission to deliberate on this topic. Does anybody would like to start the discussion? Would anybody like to end the discussion? No.
Let's say I already started it, so I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary, I can chime in if it's helpful.
Yes, please.
I'm okay with what's being requested. The only things I would say is that if at all possible, you know, the board or whoever look at the civics, anything that's up against the Civic Center, like that wall, if that Trex product, you know, I understand the ventilation part of that totally. So I don't know if trellis work or something white or something that blends in better with that building would aesthetically look better. Whether that's in our purview, I don't even know anymore, but just a suggestion. And then, you know, as long as there's a balance on the lighting, you know, I think if that's, if everybody's looked at it and is satisfied with the way it's turning out and what's being done, then that's fine. But, you know, just as long as we keep striving to have a balance between what works for safety and what works for the environment as well. That's all.
And pleasing the historic value of these lights. So I think it's a tough juggle there.
Yeah.
I would agree with those comments.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment?
I agree with what Jamie said. I think the lighting, the historical value and the environment needs to be taken care of. But I also do believe that safety should be the #1 priority when it comes to lighting that. There's going to be, the way it is, there's going to be corners back there that are sort of hidden and stuff. And I just think If that's gonna be our main thoroughfare to get from the parking garage to Main Street, we need to make sure that it's well lit at all from that standpoint. And normally I would be a person who would say, no, we have to shield it, but I think there's a safety aspect there. And for people going in and out of there and to make sure nothing nefarious goes on there, right? So if it's bright, people aren't gonna try to use it for other reasons.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? And you're not obligated. We can, if you, go ahead, Mohammed, you look like you unmuted.
Yeah, I think the brightness of light, I have no problem with that. But one question I have is the murals which will go on the properties, private properties. So who will be responsible to maintain those murals? Is the village responsibility, the property owner's responsibility?
So all of that is not yet determined. There is a separate process for the approval of a mural. We showed it on the renderings to indicate that, you know, there is the possibility and the opportunity for that, and the village certainly isn't opposed to that and would maybe encourage that. So it would take someone, and it could be the village, it could be one of the, you know, commissions of the village board, initiating some discussions with someone who might be interested in doing a mural. For example, maybe COD in their art classes, or maybe some other private entity. And once we get a design for that, that will go forward through an approval process that ends ultimately with the village board final decision. And as we go through that process, we would make sure that there are conditions and appropriate standards for how it would be maintained and who would maintain it in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to make a comment or have a question from the Plan Commission?
I have a question. On the wall by the Civic Center and by Katie's, is there an opportunity with the Trex-like material to grow any kind of vines or any kind of bring some greenery back there?
I am going to ask Candace to respond to that. I am thinking no. So behind Sushu Kai, that kind of a thinner profile enclosure is metal. The Trex-like product is going to be for the fencing behind the old Katie space for the outside storage for any future user there. And then right across the pedway, kind of at the corner of the Civic Center building, that product is going to be there as well. But Candace, I'll let you respond to the possibility.
Yeah, I think where it would be most aesthetically pleasing to have vines is around the utility near the Civic Center. But unfortunately, in order to have vines, you need to have a flower bed planting area around there as well. And we are already extremely, there's not enough room for a flower bed to keep with the pedestrian way, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't think there's going to be room in order to have the pedestrians be able to pass, have a flower bed to allow vines to grow and have, you know, the utilities where they are. So unfortunately, I don't think so, but I like the idea.
We are planning some village pots back there, and there's some seat walls in various locations that will have some plantings in them. And we can strategically locate those for screening purposes as will be, but that would be a village responsibility. Generally, Public Works takes care of those types of things. And then I just got some information that I know I had heard before, but had completely forgotten about. But an artwork group has been established and approved by the village board that's being led by COD. And the process has already begun related to a potential mural or artwork of some sort on that Katie's south wall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John, did you want to say anything? Are you good? Okay, he's good. All right, I think at this point, if there's no other questions or comments or deliberations from the Plan Commission, we need a motion. Is that correct? And as I recall, it was a lengthy one. Does anybody have that? Tracy, do you have that?
No, I do not.
All right.
Tracy, can you check your email? Because we sent it to you twice.
And it was the one that was so lengthy, we were just going to,
Is it
Or was
coming
it-
from you or is it coming from G Community Development?
It's coming from Katie Ashbaugh.
does anybody else have it by any chance? While she's looking.
Or I can send it to whomever would like it.
Go ahead and send it again, Katie, please.
And the findings were really long, but the motion itself isn't too long.
No, but it was the findings of fact that, we don't need to read it into the public
Correct.
record, correct?
Mhm.
It must be the findings as written. Because I think we discussed that at the last meeting. And we probably all said, good, we don't need these anymore. It'll just be a moment while those electrons fly through the wires to Tracy's computer.
Yeah, I can't find it. So if it's, are you resending it right now?
Is there
Sorry
someone
about
else
that.
who might be able to read it into the record perhaps? Because we did just send it to
Oh,
Tracy.
you just sent it. Hold on.
So-
Give me a second.
We sent
Let
it
me
to
make
you at noon today, and then also when you told me that you had not received it, we had it resent like 5
How am I
minutes ago.
not getting stuff? Make sure it's not in junk.
7/17.
I don't know why your stuff, even though you're marked, is going to my junk box. So sorry, Katie.
You found it then.
Yes, I have it.
It's safe. It was secure.
Yeah, clearly, for some reason, they felt to throw it into my junk box. I don't know why that is, because you're actually starred, so it shouldn't, it should go into my VIP box, and it didn't. Okay, hold on, I'm opening it. There, where to opening? Oh, now it is. Okay. Okay. Okay, I have it.
So that very lengthy finding of fact, you do not need to
Right,
read
right.
word for word.
So I only have to go through number 6, I believe. After conducting a public hearing and deliberating on the request of the petitioner, M.A. Mortensen Company, for approval of an amendment to the special use permit of a planned unit development as approved by ordinance 6753 and a final planned unit development for phase 2 of the Glen Ellen Civic Center campus planned unit development to allow for the proposed construction of a public pedway immediately to the west of Glen Ellen Civic Center on the properties located at 535 Duane Street and 423 North Main Street in the C5B Central Service Subdistrict and the C5A Central Retail Core Subdistrict, respectively, in accordance with Section 10-10-15 of the Glen Ellen Zoning Code, and for the approval of the external appearance to allow facade improvements to the existing north wall of the building located at 421 North Main Street in the C5A Central Retail Core Subdistrict in accordance with the appearance review guidelines as approved by ordinance 5508. The Plan Commission hereby recommends approval of the request based on the findings of fact as discussed or amended at the Plan Commission public hearing on December 17th, 2020. And a copy of which will be attached to the minutes of this meeting and be kept on file as part of the permanent record of the village. The Plan Commission makes the recommendation of approval of requests with the following conditions. Number 1, that the project be constructed, maintained, and operated in substantial conformance with the plans and testimony presented at the Plan Commission public hearing and before the Village Board of Trustees. Number 2, that before the issuance of a building permit, a construction management plan must be prepared, reviewed, and at a pre-construction meeting and approved by the police, fire, public works, and community development departments. Number 3, that any changes to pavement materials approved concerning the village board approved landscape design be permitted. provided that stormwater calculations are consistent with those approved by the attached plans or otherwise approved by the village senior civil engineer, that the plant material be installed in the custom planner surrounding the outdoor seating area be installed seasonally at the direction of street/utility division of the Public Works Department. Number 5, that all required temporary construction and perpetual easements on private property be secured before the issuance of any building permits. And 6, that should any necessary easements not be granted, said work on private property shall not be completed.
Okay, there's a motion and I need a second, please.
I second.
All right, thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Hemming-Litwin and a second by Commissioner Said. May I have a roll call vote, please? Barb?
Chairperson Locke,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Hemming-Litwin,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Fennella,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulheron,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Bandriska.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for our petitioners, or I guess our construction crew, for coming back for that one. So we appreciate it. And glad it wasn't too long a night for you. So thank you. Our next agenda item is again a continued public hearing from December 10th, 2020. It's a public hearing to review the second half of the draft Glen Ellen Comprehensive Plan document. This is covering pages 44 through 79. I think we have the continued public hearing. I think we need just as a continuation of our presentation from that evening. And that's correct?
That is correct. I'm going to start us off, just give a quick little brief introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Brandon.
Okay.
Just going to share my screen really quick. Okay, so thanks to everybody who's joining us this evening for the second public hearing for the comprehensive plan, the draft comprehensive plan. As Chairperson Locke mentioned, we are going to be covering the second half of the plan. It's approximately, pages 44 through 79. The first public hearing was held on December 10th. The recording of that meeting is available on the village's website for anybody who missed it and was not able to see the original presentation for the first half of the plan. And the final public hearing will actually be on February 25th. The village has been working with Halsey Levine Associates since July of 2018 on this plan. And at this point, we're basically to the point of adopting the plan. There's very little to do before the plan is actually presented to the board for adoption. On the meeting of the 25th of February, we are going to be presenting the full document to the Plan Commission revised in response to public comments from the 2 Zoom open house meetings that were held in November, as well as any of the public hearings, any of the comments that we received from the public hearings that have already been done. The village board will then have the opportunity to review the plan. At this point in time, we are planning on 1 workshop meeting and 1 regular meeting at least. And then of course, an optional meeting if needed for them to provide some additional feedback and make additional changes if need be. I am going to turn it over to John Halsey and Brandon Nolan, our consultants from Halsey Levine Associates. Brandon is actually going to walk us through, provide a little bit of information on the vision for Stacy's Corner sub area, recommendations for the village's transportation networks, community facilities, parks, recreation, and open space, an overview of the implementation section of the comprehensive plan. Both John Halsey and Brandon Nolan will be available for any questions from the Plan Commission or the public. And then I did want to mention as well, before handing things off, that there were 2 questions that staff had raised in the staff report. And once we get to the Plan Commission deliberation part of the meeting, I do want to bring you back to these and get a little bit of feedback from the Plan Commission on these couple of items here. So without further ado, then I will turn things over to Brandon, who will provide the presentation on the second half of the draft plan.
All right, thanks, Kelly. I'll go ahead and share a screen here. All right, January 7th, Happy New Year, everyone. Good to see everyone. Hope everyone had a good holiday. So we'll just dive in here. As Kelly said, we're really handling the kind of back half, almost back third of the plan. We had covered the downtown and Roosevelt Road corridor sub-area plans as part of the previous presentation. And kind of last couple of pages in that same section deal with the Stacy's Corners area. So we've got this framework plan here, and then we'll dive into the other following chapters in the plan. So just an overview. Here you're seeing the main intersection at St. Charles in Maine. The underneath colors are representing kind of the proposed land use mix as per the land use plan. Again, really highlighting, looking at potential opportunities to expand neighborhood serving commercial at the main intersection where we can, emphasizing the need for screening and buffering as appropriate on the backside of those developments. You'll see on the east side of kind of along St. Charles, we've identified a couple of kind of infill opportunities where you've really got some low intensity residential that could be repositioned for perhaps single family attached, or just some smaller lot single family that takes advantage of proximity to this great little neighborhood center that you've established here at this corner. And obviously highlighting the key kind of neighborhood amenities and community amenities that exist in this area, including the museum and some of the public amenities that are there. So we've highlighted some facade improvement opportunities, noted gateway signage locations, and really tried to highlight kind of how some of the parcels could be repositioned in the future. The next main chapter in the plan is transportation. I'll note that KLOA was the sub-consultant that assisted with this component of the plan, as well as some of the advice that we included regarding transportation and parking for the downtown. As a built out community, there's not a lot of changes happening within your overall roadway system. It's really more of an emphasis on how you can improve kind of the complete streets nature, pedestrian and bike access within the village, and looking at some of the opportunities to address some of the pinch points you have, like around the railroad tracks and at some of your main intersections. So the plan includes a discussion of the roadway jurisdiction and capacity improvements that are kind of in the works at a regional scale and what that means for the village. Looking at those railroad crossings, a review and kind of refer back to the downtown one-way street discussion that's also addressed in the downtown sub-area plan. As I said, a discussion of complete streets and traffic calming, and looking at some alternatives to more traditional transportation, including ride share, car sharing, and no emission vehicles. Sorry about that. Kind of a complement to that, the roadway maps, we do have this kind of bike and ped illustration as well that shows some of those key linkages. And again, I think we talked about this as part of the Roosevelt Road corridor, but really trying to show some kind of routes that maybe parallel some of your main roads, so you can still have some quality access throughout the village, but it's not necessarily happening along Main Street or Roosevelt. It's happening on some kind of sister roads that parallel these main routes. Looking at on-street bike facilities in some of the neighborhoods where it's feasible. And this is kind of building off some of the past planning work that had been done internally by staff previously. Discussion of bike parking and the pedestrian system as a whole. And I think I should note one of the comments that came through in the first public hearing, or sorry, the open house, was about the need for discussion of micro mobility. So that's something we've talked about, adding a section in here that deals just with addressing things like scooters and bike share and things like that as well, just to make sure that those trends are acknowledged in the plan and looking at that long term as well. The next chapter, community facilities, the emphasis for this chapter really is about kind of communication and coordination between partners and the village. There's a lot of services and facilities that the village does provide, but there's also a lot that other organizations that really provide for quality of life within the village as a whole. So your school systems, public and private, working with College of DuPage, obviously, the library, healthcare providers, College DuPage has a pretty substantive section within the plan focused on coordination. And again, harkening back to what we talked about with the downtown plan, trying to look at opportunities to really leverage their campus as more of an asset. You know, it's a commuter school. What can we do to tie it better into the village as a whole? And again, another example of a modification we'll be making to this draft based on what we heard during the open house would be looking at facility. The library and schools called out this idea of a kind of a service hub of sorts on the south side of the community. And so that's a recommendation that you know, we'd like to also incorporate into the plan as part of a revised draft. The other component of this, in addition to the services, is the utilities and infrastructure. So we've worked quite a bit with Public Works to make sure we're highlighting areas where there's potential for the village to serve or better serve in the future. There's areas of kind of unincorporated and some small incorporated pockets where there isn't full water or sewer. And so these various polygons you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen are highlighting kind of those opportunities where the pipes in the ground can really be extended and to facilitate long-term redevelopment and reinvestment over the long term. So this ties back to the housing plan and the infill opportunities and annexation and development opportunities we've highlighted in that plan as well. Parks and Rec, again, another chapter that really emphasizes coordination, because you've got 2 park districts in the village. And you've got some great facilities as well that are kind of operated by the village, like the Village Links and Reserve 22, but just really setting the table for a broader, I think, coordination between the various providers. You've got great park coverage, so there's not a lot of gaps in your service areas. You look at this map on the right, the areas in blue are basically within a 10-minute walk of a neighborhood or local serving park. So there's not a lot of gaps. You'll see those kind of areas in orange are residential areas within the land use plan that aren't within that walk shed. And most of the gaps are due to kind of issues with network barriers, where maybe a park is close to a residential area, but the street grid doesn't quite get them there in a 10-minute walk. So there's some opportunities. Those red dots represent opportunities where you could do some small infill parks, parklets, to try to better serve residents over the long term. And again, that would be coordinating with the park districts to make that happen. So try to be very proactive in identifying those gaps, but recognizing that you do have a solid foundation to build from in terms of park access. It really was highlighted as a great amenity in terms of our outreach and engagement. There's a reason people like living in Glen Ellen. Last but not least, within this chapter is the discussion of floodplains and wetlands. Obviously, flooding, urban flooding can be a concern in Glen Ellen. The areas in purple are your 100-year floodplains. So there are some pockets where flooding happens internally. You've done a lot of work, especially on the Roosevelt Road corridor, to make sure there's some regional detention and Fish Park to really kind of offset some of those issues. Also recognizing that you guys are located along the DuPage River. So looking at how that can be leveraged for the village over the long term, including the trail that's proposed for that corridor, as we addressed in previous sections of the plan. So those are the main chapters. Again, I think we covered a lot of ground in the first meeting. So these are really kind of complements to the land use and development framework. Again, the emphasis is on kind of coordination and partnership across the board. The very last chapter in the plan is implementation. Really, the main kind of takeaways in that section are overview of funding sources and mechanisms that could be leveraged by the village to help implement the plan. And then we've got what we call this action matrix. It's really just a kind of marching order. It's kind of a summary of all the to-dos that are listed in each of the chapters. So you see on the left kind of the overarching goal, and then related kind of supporting strategies are this recommended actions in the center column. So that ends up being the checklist that can be shared amongst departments, that can be shared with partner agencies, that everyone can have access to really mark your progress moving forward. So short but sweet on this back half of the plan, but really we're at the stage where we're hoping this group likes where the direction of the document, and we can make revisions based on this public hearing and the open houses and get this to the village board in pretty short order. So I will stop screen share and we'll see what questions you guys have.
Thank you for your presentation. Did the plan commissioners have any questions for either of our either consultants, Brandon or John? Tracy?
Can you go back to, or maybe you can answer, what's been talked about car being able to get across the tracks other than at the Taylor Street underpass? Like, is there anything in talking about, you know, the need of, you know, because a lot of people talk about the need of being able to, another way to get over the tracks.
Or under.
Or under, right. But to be able to not sit for 20 minutes because somebody's working and they've got one truck and it's got all three gates down for over 20 minutes, which actually happened today in downtown Glenelg. And I mean, when I say a truck, I'm talking a pickup truck that's working on the tracks, not, you know, and then you have on top of it, the metro trains and all the commuter trains coming, or all the freight trains coming through and all of that.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, because of the nature of a historic downtown on a rail line, I mean, there's not a lot of opportunities to address that issue. I think we highlight the fact that we want to try to identify those as they can pop up. You've got the new underpass happening with the new metro station, so that'll help with pedestrian. And then you got Taylor Street. But I mean, in terms of new crossings or new grade separated crossings, the downtown, I mean, we don't have recommendations for new separated crossings in the downtown.
So that wasn't addressed in the plan.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's recognized that it's an issue, but there's not, based on the information and direction we got from KLOA, there's not much that can be done about it because of the nature of how your downtown's built out.
So there is a little something in here. It's on page 49 of the plan and it's titled grade separated crossings. And at the very bottom of the paragraph, it says an additional grade separated crossing of the railway to the west of downtown should provide relief to the other side of the community as well. So it is recommended that we take a look at it.
Okay. But it's just a statement to take a look at it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the Plan Commission for?
Oh, can we go back up to, I'm sorry, can we also go back up to, can you put up the Five Corners or Stacy's Corners map?
Yep, 1 second.
And this is, I think, a question for Kelly. So you wanted us to look at, I believe, properties west of Main Street fronting St. Charles.
East of Main Street fronting St. Charles.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
so-
Did I say west? I meant
You did.
east.
Yeah, so
Oh.
area 1 essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So
it's,
you're at, so you're saying, because right now that says high density residential, and you're saying, do you think that this should be more commercial?
So the question is the front half of that that's just fronting on St. Charles, would it be appropriate for that to be commercial rather than residential?
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
question.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew which piece of property you were talking about or properties you were talking about. Okay, thank you.
I have one question on southeast corner of St. Charles and Main Street. Can we accommodate some daycare center there?
Where?
That's already been sold.
That's already been accounted for.
That's already been sold.
Yeah.
It's being,
Be a
it's gonna be a
chiropractic.
physical, it's gonna be a physical therapy place, and the retail center at the corner has a half vacancy, and Kumon is still there, and then you still have the strip center with the 7-Eleven anchor.
So the whole southeast part is sold?
It is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the main thing with regard to that comment is that the land use designation for the area wouldn't preclude that use from going in there. It doesn't specify that use to go in there, but it certainly does not, the land uses we have designated would accommodate that use should it be proposed in the future.
I want to make sure Commissioner Said is aware that since there was a gas station on that site,
Yes,
there are possible issues, EPA issues from actually
Okay.
putting a daycare center on that site.
Some
So
ca- ca-
it's
ca-
not,
ca-
it's not that actual site at the corner is not a easy site if a daycare center was going to go in there anyways.
okay. So you're
Okay.
talking about some soil contamination?
Yes.
There used to be a gas station there, yes.
Yeah, that's why okay. Yeah, I
Whether
got it.
there's contamination or not,
Uh.
there's rules in Illinois about putting, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I have this right, putting daycare centers or childcare centers or even like an or pre-K school there
Okay.
because of possible contamination, even if the contamination has been properly remediated.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
I
I
did
did.
I did have a
go- Oh, yeah, I also saw some of the other ladies' hands up too. So they were very politely raising their hand, but I cannot see who they are because I'm looking at the presentation. Let me see, was it Angela and Laura? One of you had your hands up? Okay, Laura, go ahead.
Would you like us to stop sharing the screen so we can see everyone?
Yes, please.
Okay.
It makes it a little bit easier. You can go back and forth if you don't mind, but.
Sure.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, my question is in regards to this reducing the speed limit in residential areas and if that's part of scope for the comprehensive plan. In August of 2018, Wheaton City Council voted to decrease the speed limit in residential areas from 30 to 25. And it's part of their efforts to continuously improve public safety. And I wonder if that's something that could be included in the transportation section of the comprehensive plan.
So I did ask Director Springer that question as you had sent that to me earlier today. And she said that it's really more of a question for the village board as kind of a policy decision.
Okay.
So we won't drop that. You and I can work together and we'll figure out how to get that before the board for, for their consideration to think about or something like that. But she said it's really not for the comprehensive plan. Stacy, if I'm speaking out of turn, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Angela, did you have your hand up too? Did I see that earlier? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted a couple of questions. First is, we don't talk about daycares in the plan, and I understand this goes more towards commercial development, but we do talk about community facilities, talk about schools, we talk about parks, and there's a lack of daycares in Glen Ellen, and we talk about healthcare facilities, and childcare is one of those components that we don't have in Glen Ellen. And as a parent of 4 children, I can attest to it personally. So just something that we may want to think about addressing or including, or is there a reason it wasn't included?
I mean, yeah, I mean, in general, the comprehensive plans, it's the village first and foremost and the services the village can provide. And then we branch out to kind of more public entities. Daycare, I mean, other than being provided through some school programs, usually is a private enterprise for the most part. I mean, we could add a small section that recognizes the need for it and highlights how that, the neighborhood commercial centers might be a good location for that. But that's not something we typically address on a larger scale within a comprehensive plan.
Understandable. Okay. And then my other question was, and I believe you addressed it in here, but I want to confirm the lack of sidewalks along Route 53. I know there's a lot of parents that are concerned about the walk to and from the public schools south of Roosevelt Road, and it's difficult because there is a sections of 53 that don't have any kind of pedestrian walkway.
And yeah, I'm trying to remember what exactly we include regarding 53 and sidewalks. I do know as part of the concept plan for the Roosevelt Road, Nicole Way, bigger that larger site, we do emphasize the need for some pedestrian improvements kind of on both Roosevelt as well as 53 underneath, and even talk about ways we can improve and beautify that embankment and try to allow for some of those facilities. And I'm looking at the map to see what we have included for that site. I believe we have, I mean, yeah, other than that concept that calls for that larger underpass, it's more of a circuitous route around that underpass. But we do show a continuous route, more or less, up the 53 corridor.
I just know some developers have come before us and have tried to circumvent the village code with regard to the sidewalks, not wanting to put them in. And I just want to make sure it's included in the comprehensive plan to give us an extra layer of accountability for ourselves and for the developers. Because if you are going to have schools along a busy street like that and kids walking to schools, and we have neighborhood schools, I think it's important that we make sure it's somewhere called out. And those are my mom 2 cents tonight. I'm taking off my mom hat now.
So it's Angela, that's the part of, really the main part of that is the part of 53 south of Roosevelt Road going all the way down to Butterfield, correct?
Exactly, that section.
Okay.
And specifically the west side, because that's where the schools are.
Yep. And there were parts of the plan that talked about, bicycle routes, and it talked about, it's alluded to, but I never saw it specifically called out.
Yeah, and for 53, I mean, we do have the map on page, actually, I think it is page 53, that has a dashed route going up and down the eastern side of the roadway with another crossing at 22nd Street. But we do show a continuous route from all the way Butterfield all the way up to Nicole Way. So we are trying to provide for that broader network. I don't think we explicitly call out 53 itself, except for in the Roosevelt Road corridor sub-area.
Do you show that though on the east side or on the west side?
I think it's shown generally here on the east side, and I think that's to align with existing segments that are already built out. It doesn't mean it couldn't cross over and eventually travel on the west side instead. I mean, ultimately, that kind of multi-use trail, it's going to require right of way, and it really depends on ownership along the corridor and how that shakes out as a larger project. So, I mean, there's a reason we have it at high level as a dashed line, because it's the alignment itself will be dictated based on actual build out.
I think that continuous multi-use path is what maybe some of you have heard about recently, is the effort to install or move forward with the east branch of the DuPage River Trail. There's a group working on that. The county is involved, the village is involved, and they're working on an alignment now. So that's the path is proposed on the east side of Route 53, because north and south of north of Roosevelt and south of Butterfield, the continuation of that path is on the east side.
But that's not necessarily a walking, that's for biking too?
It's multi-use, so it can be used by pedestrians.
Okay. All right, I think Angela, we heard the message has been delivered, which is the west side is really important to get to the schools, and the mom hat's important, so leave it on. So
west side is also included in the plan?
Well, that's what she's asking for it to be taught to.
Yeah, can we do that? Can we include in that? Can our consultant include the west side also for the sidewalk?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at there's the one elementary at Sheehan. Is that the one we're concerned about?
The junior, yeah, that's a junior high.
There's yes.
Okay. Because we do have a safe routes to school section as well, which really, safe routes to school is kind of really designed just for what we're talking about, where it's trying to provide the connections to larger routes. So that way students have a continuous safe route to get to and from school. So even if the trail, let's say, ends up being built on the east side, safe routes to schools could be used to improve the intersection and get people across safely to the trail from the school. So there's definitely ways this could check out. Again, this is a high level plan and we're getting down into like one intersection, but we can try to highlight that or emphasize that there's a pedestrian system section on page 53. Maybe we can add a couple subheadings to make that more clear. And then we can also take another look at the language within the safe routes to school piece of the plan as well.
I think that area there between Sheehan North to Roosevelt Road, on the west side, you've got the school. This is for the plan commissioners. And just remember, and on the east side, you've got Marino Park District. So there's between Sheehan North up to Roosevelt, with having Marino on the east side, that could actually be at some point you're going to have to cross 53.
If you live
Right.
on the east
It's
side.
fine. I just know that there,
Or on the west
side
side.
of 53, there is no pedestrian pathway from the school up to Roosevelt Road.
I agree.
And we have a current development, we have other land looking at being developed. And I wanted to make sure we address that, because I know living on the north side of Roosevelt Road, and Laura can attest to this because her kids go to public school, all of our schools have adequate pedestrian transportation and sidewalks. So I wanted to make sure we're
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm just saying is that I just think having something down there and a way to properly cross is important, even just to get the kids, if people live in that area and want to walk to Marino,
Yep.
there's no real way for them to do that if they're on the west side of 53.
Yeah.
That's right.
And,
Yes,
and
yes.
a little south.
That's right.
So-
Yes.
Yeah, so not to get into the weeds, I know it's come up in previous meetings for other developments, so
Yeah.
that's why I brought it up here.
I think it's a great point. So, all right, thank you.
We'll look at page 53 and how we can, I mean, it's a big block of text with a map, so we can there's definitely room for some modifications to help drive home some of those points. And I don't think it would take much.
All right, thank you. Okay, Lloyd, I think you were the one, had your hand raised
Thank
and
you so much.
patiently waited. Thanks.
No, no, not at all. So I'm going through a lot of capital planning with my clients right now. And first of all, I think you've done a great job. And second of all, I appreciate the prioritization table. I just spent 2 hours today with 2 different clients wrapping up budgets. And, you get to the summary section and, it seems like you've identified them as 1, 2, or ongoing. And, there's competing interests with the 7 or 8 different areas that exist within the plan. And my question is if there's a way, like if I was on the village board, I'm going to want to know like where I'm going to get the highest impact for my capital investment. And is there a way to take that matrix and look at it in the context of if you have enough information, maybe from the folks that you're working with, to say these are the target areas, or these are the areas where we need the most improvement, to help further break down those priority spends into different categories, so that the board could see, in 2022 through 2030, 2040, like that this is where we would get the biggest bang for the buck.
So yeah, we haven't gone to the extent of actually costing out a lot of these infrastructure improvements. That's usually, I mean, that's what a capital improvement plan really helps address. We've tried to prioritize them based on kind of low hanging fruit versus hard to accomplish versus location and just things you need to do to make things happen. But yeah, we have not gone to that next level of detail that would let us kind of do what you're asking to do in terms of cost benefit analysis.
Stacy, this is my first time, going. I mean, I've read a lot of comprehensive plans, but to sit as a commissioner, is that another scope then that the village might buy from a consulting firm, or what would be the next steps that they would take with the plan once it's approved to prioritize the spend?
So really, the way we generally handle it is we create kind of we use the implementation matrix that they've put together, and then kind of set out priorities, kind of a strategic plan type operation, where we designate what needs to be done to accomplish those things, and then some of those items are raised for discussion at the village board level during their strategic planning process, and then we develop a list of more or less tasks each year in order to move us forward. Does that help?
Very much so. I was curious as to how that evolved. Thank you both very much.
Any other questions from the plan commissioners? Okay, then do we have any, public comment portion? Again, any letters that need to be read in to the record? I see Kelly saying, yes, there are.
I do. I have one letter that needs to be read into the record. Give me just a second.
Okay. And the author of the record is not, author of the letter is not a attendee tonight.
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to read it verbatim here. Couple of comments on the draft comprehensive plan. First, the railroad tracks that run through town are the Union Pacific. We did have previously BNSF, I think, on there, not Burlington Northern. Second, and more importantly, with regard to the downtown fire station site, I strongly agree that the site is underutilized. I strongly disagree that the site is underutilized. What could be more important than fire protection? Also, the plan states that removing the fire station would improve the image of the site. Again, I strongly disagree. Having a highly visible fire station conveys that safety is important to the village. In addition, I can tell you that a highly visible fire station is meaningful to the children of the village. While that may not be quantifiable in dollars and cents, it is not unimportant. Thank you, Mark Luganville from 456 Ridgewood Avenue. And that is the only comment that I received in advance of the meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm writing that down. Okay. Are there any other attendees who are with us tonight that would like to speak to the Plan Commission on the comprehensive plan, what you've heard tonight? And if you are interested, please raise your Zoom hand.
Okay, we do have one.
Yes. So we have Kristen Bond, and we have allowed her to speak. Kristen, go ahead. You have the 3 minutes.
Does she need to be sworn in?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Chairman Locke.
All right, so Barbara, could you swear her in, please? Barbara, you're muted. I can even see that one. That's rare for me, but I can. Still muted, Barb.
I will not be long.
Kristen, I can go ahead and swear you in. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Kristen Bond. My address is 234 Merton Avenue, Glen Ellen.
All right. And do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth? So help you God. Am I supposed to say that part? I don't think so. You swear to tell the truth and the whole truth.
I do.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to try to be quick because handling this on Zoom is obviously different than being right there. So my only question is, at the last meeting, the last draft comprehensive review, I just mentioned something about adding something about micromobility and to the plan, and whatever that means. If that means exploring bike share, because obviously bike infrastructure and bike share is a very big thing to many towns. But aside from bike share, maybe something like a scooter initiative, perhaps something else. So I was just wondering if you could kindly add that. And really, that's all. Whatever that means, what other towns are doing, I would really appreciate it.
Did you push Gigi?
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We do have another hand raised, and that's Ginger Wheeler. And Ginger, I am moving you to a position where you're allowed to speak. We do need to swear you in, and I see Barb has unmuted herself.
Okay, I thought I was unmuted before. I don't know what happened. Would you please state your name and address for the public record?
Are you talking to me now?
Yes, Ginger,
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
am. That's Ginger Wheeler.
Okay, sorry. Yep, Ginger Wheeler, 765 Hillside Avenue, Glen Ellen, Illinois.
All right, go ahead.
You swear to tell
Oh,
the,
I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead, Barb.
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. I just want to thank all the commissioners for all your work and give you a huge shout out for all your work putting the East Branch DuPage River Trail in the plan in multiple places. I think it's a really important initiative for our village, and once it's made and built, it's going to be fantastic and a fantastic community resource. So congratulations and kudos to all of you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, Happy New Year to you too.
And thank you for your service.
Okay, thanks, Ginger.
Sure.
Are there any other attendees that are with us tonight that'd like to speak to the Plan Commission this evening?
I see
Please
none.
raise your Zoom hand. Yeah, I don't see any either. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for attendees for even just listening and hearing about the plan. I'm glad you're all interested. I think at this point on this topic, we are going to continue this public hearing. Is that correct, Kelly? If I understood our conversation from this afternoon. I don't know the date to where we're continuing it to. Do we have a date?
Yes, February 25th, 2021.
Okay.
It's the second
February-
Plan Commission meeting in February.
Okay, February 25th, 2021. I should know this, but do I need a motion to continue the public hearing
You do.
to that date? All right, may I have a motion, please?
I move that we continue the public hearing on the comprehensive plan to the Plan Commission meeting on Thursday, February 25th, 2021.
Second. A second. Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Hemming-Litwin and a second from Commissioner Barry. Barb, would you please take a roll call vote, please? Please,
Okay.
please.
Chairperson Locke,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Hemming-Litwin,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Barry,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Fenella,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Mulheron, Plan Commissioner Mulheron,
He said yes.
okay. Plan Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Plan Commissioner Vondruska,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. And so again, thank you for all the attendees for participating, and thank you to our consultants, Mr. Halsey and Mr. Nolan. I appreciate your time and your presentations this evening. We're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is our trustee report, and I think Mr. Enright's on the call with us. So, Bill, if you'd like the floor, it's yours.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. We haven't really met. You guys have met more than we have since our last meeting, and so we don't have much new to discuss. Just that we're going to get back on track next week, and hopefully get through some of these things, including, of course, the comprehensive plan. Which, thanks so much. I mean, to be honest with you, some of the questions you've raised and some of the comments you've made have been so helpful to me. So I really appreciate it. And then otherwise, not much else to discuss at this point. So otherwise, thanks for everything.
All right, thank you. Thanks, same to you. The next agenda item is the chairperson's report, and I really don't have one, other than thank you all for participating in our special meeting. So the next agenda item is a staff report. Does anybody from the staff have a report for tonight?
I do have a couple of things I can cover. I didn't know if Stacy or Katie had anything. Okay. So we do have a couple of projects coming forward, some of the things that we've been working on for a long time. Cole Jackson, our associate planner, will be presenting at the next meeting in January. So we're the 14th, the Dr. Saylor PUD. So you'll be expecting another packet this week. That's the only project that's scheduled for the 14th meeting. And then on the 28th, we have two projects that are coming forward. We have the Glen Ellen Food Pantry, which you all have seen once before for a pre-application meeting. And we do also have the, it's a special use for the downtown. It's a residential property that was converted to a business, and now the property owner is looking to convert it back to a residence, and it's in the C5B district. So you'll have both of those on February 28th. I'm sorry, January 28th, the second meeting in January. The first meeting of February, I'm expecting to have a PUD amendment for the Apex 400 project, which ought to be interesting. The PUD amendment will be for building height so that they can put HVAC units on top of the building, because that's something that we do include in our height, within our height requirements. They have a restaurant user who's interested in one of the commercial areas on the first level of the project, and they need, specific equipment to go on top of the roof that has not been accounted for. So that PUD request, the amendment, will be coming forward on February 11th. And then, as noted earlier, we also are looking at the 25th of February for the Plan Commission public hearing, the third public hearing for the comprehensive plan. So we've got pretty jammed agendas moving forward, no time off. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up for that. Lots of stuff coming through.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Kelly, did we give them an update on the board's decision on cannabis already? I can't recall.
You did at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Unless
there were
something's
some people that
changed.
weren't there. Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay. Okay. That's,
Not yet.
things are changing so rapidly these days. So.
Very true.
All right, thank you. Any other business to come before the Plan Commission this evening? If not, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. The meeting is adjourned. We don't need a vote on that one. So thank you all.
Be
Thank
well,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Thanks.